Welcome to The Real Final Mile, life in big and bulky home delivery, the only podcast dedicated to the delivery professionals that bring your large consumer goods to your home. My name is John Doolin. I'm the host of The Real Final Mile, life in big and bulky. Also, the founder of GetDoolin.com, where I'm empowering teams and individuals through personalized coaching, leadership development, and professional mentoring. You can find me at GetDoolin.com. One of my guests is Gina DiCenzo. Gina is a regional quality manager for Ford Storage and Logistics out of Omaha, Nebraska, with locations in Kansas City and Dallas, Texas. Gina has been with Ford for 10 years, handling customer complaints, property damage claims, safety and delivery training, and cargo claims. Gina earned her Bachelor of Science in Business Management from Bellevue University. Gina easily builds rapport with delivery contractors and employee teams, customers, and business partners. Prior to working with Ford Storage, Gina worked for Nebraska Furniture Mart as a delivery operations assistant manager and was the operations manager for Fashion Cleaners, an Omaha-based laundry service. Merrick McDonald, with over 25 years of hands-on leadership experience developing, coaching, mentoring, and advising leaders at all levels of business, Merrick has come to the realization that this is where he adds the most value and feels the greatest reward. Merrick is not an executive coach. Your conversations with him will not be solely around data. He will advise and unify team mindsets, provide and develop tools for your teams, and teach the skill sets required to work towards excellence as a standard. Merrick is also a hands-on trainer for white glove final mile delivery teams out in the field every day, training and leading by example. Ready to unlock the potential of your team? GetDoolin.com offers a web-based training platform designed for the final mile delivery industry and beyond. Whether you're in logistics, leadership, or operations, GetDoolin.com has you covered. Our micro-learning courses are quick, engaging, and most are less than 5 minutes each, so your team can learn on the go. With our mobile app, available for both Android and Apple, your team has access to training anywhere, anytime. Push notifications keep everyone up to date with new daily content, making sure no one falls behind. Track individual progress with ease. You'll know exactly who's watching each video and how your team is advancing toward their goals. At GetDoolin.com, every subscriber has a voice. Our two-way communication feature lets your team provide feedback and suggestions on the training, ensuring it's always relevant and valuable. GetDoolin.com is designed for all levels of your organization, from drivers and helpers to operations and leadership. No matter where they are in your company, GetDoolin.com helps everyone grow. GetDoolin.com is training that moves your business forward one micro lesson at a time. Ladies first, we will start in the United States with Gina.
Hi. So, I actually used to work for John at Nebraska Furniture Mart, and I went on to be the regional quality manager for Ford Storage. So my role there is to mainly handle customer complaints, but also train our guys on to provide great service. And it's challenging, but I love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. And then Merrick.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm Eric. I'm up in Toronto, Canada. I'll just give you a quick background. So I spent 25 years in leadership positions in warehousing, operations, logistics. Last year, I retired from the Canadian Post Office, where I managed for 18 years, doing door-to-door delivery as well as distribution to other delivery sites. When Wayfair came to Canada, I was the terminal manager for them, responsible for their home delivery. And the last corporate job I had, I was director for Eastern Canada, where I oversaw over 30 warehouses for some of Canada's or North America's largest big box retailers. but also an owner operator. So for the last 3 years, I've owned trucks and ran trucks, both for doing dock to dock, but also home delivery, appliance and furniture deliveries. Being a certified supply chain professional and a process person, the minute I started doing deliveries, aside from managing them, I started to build a training program and try to figure out ways to be most efficient at the entire piece of the delivery. And that's what I've been doing for the last, like I said, 3 years, enjoying every bit of it. That's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'll get into more of my background later on, but I've recently been speaking on docks to different contractors about how to take their careers to the next level. And my program is dedicated on essentially taking a kid out of high school who is not going to go to college and doesn't want to be a plumber or an electrician, and giving them an opportunity to own their own business and teaching them everything all the way through. And one of the stories I tell is when my father was a truck driver, and I was about 8 years old. So it's about the age you get when you're actually able to lift something or move something or do something productive. I would go on the truck with him whenever I wasn't in school, and we would deliver a lot in New York City. And I would remember, we'd go to a secure dock, and he would pull over at a truck stop or rest area a couple miles away, and have me get in the back of the trailer and climb all the way to the nose and hide. And he would tell me I had one most important job, and that is don't be seen. Then my second job was push all the boxes to the back of the trailer, so that he didn't have to walk as far and we could get more done. So I tell that story, and I think people think I'm kidding when I tell that story, but it's a true story. And I was a small enough kid that I could hide places. If I wasn't hiding under the front seat of the cab, I was in the trailer. So anyway, diving into this, I learned the customer service techniques early on in life because I grew up on a truck, and I think it really helped me with dealing with the different types of personalities that you're going to come across. So I want to dive into just some of the surface level stuff, and what I consider personal level stuff would be, and Merrick or Gina, whoever wants to go first. How do you personalize your customer interaction? Specifically in the final mile big and bulky. And I do want to preface this a little bit with some data. And Merrick, if this is different in Canada, please let me know. But in the United States, 90% of the people who are at home and take delivery possession are what I call the actual decision maker, and it's the female of the house. And so I preface it a little bit to say, how do you personalize your customer interaction, knowing that you're potentially sending these big and bulky guys into a house where the female is home by herself?
Merrick, if you're okay, I'll go first.
Please, please.
So we really work with the guys a lot about being personable, and when they're approaching the door, not to be so intimidating. Because like you said, John, we have some guys that they spend a lot of time in the gym, and I've been on a truck before and got, hey, did you go to the gym this morning and pick up these guys before they made my delivery? And I'm like, no, sir, but they're in the gym a lot. So we just make sure that they're personalizing. Introducing themselves is the biggest thing. When a woman, if I'm getting a delivery, I want to know who's in my home. So we want to make sure that they're introducing themselves, making sure that they say, ma'am, do you mind showing me where this is going today? And then making some type of comment why they're coming in, whether that is like, oh, this is going to look great there. We do discourage them for doing what I would probably label creepy by commenting on, their home or or even on their like, oh, ma'am, you look good today. We let them know, hey, that we're in a professional setting, so that's not something that you want to do. You can do that on your personal time when you want to go to the club, but this way you're making some type of personal connection. If they walk in and they see like their kid plays football, or basketball. We have guys that play basketball professionally on a 3-on-3. So we're like, hey, make that connection with them, because if you can bring it to a personal level, they're always going to be more understanding. And then when there is an issue, at being understanding and not just taking responsibility and not blaming others. You know, a lot of times, because we deliver for a furniture and appliance company, a lot of guys think the first thing they should do is blame the salesperson. And we tell them, look, accept responsibility for that and say, I'm so sorry you're having this problem. I'm going to get on the phone right now. I'll call dispatch and we'll try and get you a resolution. And if that's not the way they need to go and they need to call a manager, they always call me, and I'm happy to take that call and speak to the customer and make sure that they realize that we understand the problem and that we've added to their day, and that I'm going to take care of it, and we'll make sure that everything goes great from this point forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, some great points, Gina. You know, I would just add, and this is one thing that I train my guys on, is that the delivery's actually done before you even get to the house. If you're doing proper pre-calls, if you understand what your options are for scenarios that you're typically going to run into, right? So what I mean by that is, and one thing that, you know, regardless, because I train 2 guys in a truck at a time, like the driver and then the navigator, right? And, you know, I want them both to hear the call, so they're open calls so they can hear the customer's responses. But it's essentially me setting the expectation for the customer, because the one thing I realized was that customers don't know what to expect. And to your earlier point of, you know, you've got 2 or 3, you know, fairly large gentlemen walking into a house for, you know, grandma who's retired and home, or, you know, mom that's just home with the kids. And it's very uncomfortable. And, you know, I'll give you a quick story where I faced that head on. You know, the lady was just very, very shaky, like physically shaky. And I said to her, I said, you know, is everything okay? And she just said, I just don't know what to expect. Like, you know, I'm just really nervous. I'm not used to having people in my house, you know, and you're moving appliances. So, you know, you're moving around a lot. So seeing that from her really clicked for me for all deliveries moving forward, was that people don't know what to expect. You know, when, like, you don't order a fridge, you know, every other week, you know? So some of these people, these appliances we're pulling out, they've had for 20 years, they've had for 30 years, right? But back to what I was saying about the delivery's done before you get there, if you've done a proper pre-call. So calling the customer and you taking ownership of what's going to happen, right? Because they think you're going to come through the back, you're going to go through the patio door, that's the best way. Well, I appreciate the input, but I'm going to decide, because I've done a lot of deliveries and I know the best way in, right? But it's telling them, here's what's going to happen. I'll be there in about 15 to 20 minutes. When I get there, I'm going to walk through, see what we're taking out. I'm going to bring the new one to the driveway, unbox it. Do you have any questions? You know, and then letting them say, okay, no, sounds good. But if you make a few contact points before you actually get to them, by the time you get there, it's like you're kind of meeting a friend, like, oh yeah, you know, I got a text from you and I heard your voice once. So it's just me showing up. Now you see my face. Okay, how are things? A quick greeting, and then reiterating what you said. Staying consistent with the expectations, align things, right? And, you know, I give this example fairly frequently, but it's the same thing as if, you know, you go to McDonald's and you order a burger, right? Let's just say you ask for no cheese. You get to they give it to you, you pull over, there's cheese in it. You're very, very, very upset, right? Because you set the expectation and there's a misalignment. It's just a matter of cheese on a burger or not. It's not earth-shattering, but the level of anger that you feel because you had the expectation set, right? So the closer you can align those expectations that you set, and they're seeing it play out. They're saying, okay, he said he'd arrive, he'd arrive. He said he'd bring it up to the driveway, he brought it up to the driveway. They start to settle because they're like, okay, I see what's happening, I know what's happening, right? And then just calming the energy, right? There's so many times that I've come from deliveries that were way longer than they should have been, with customers that were way crabbier than they should have been. And I teach my guys, you have to reset every single, like door to door is what I call it. When you open that door to deliver, that's a new visit. When you close the door, it's the end of that visit and you start over.
Yeah. So, Merrick, you said a couple things there that I have really piqued my curiosity. But so one of the things you touched on is managing that customer's expectations. And so, what is your advice for a team, when they show up to a house? And the example you shared, the customer thinks the best way is come in through the back door. But we coach these teams a lot to avoid walking in the grass. You have no idea what chemicals are there. You have no idea what kind of floor damage you might cause because of that. How do you coach a team to overcome that obstacle when the customer is absolute set? They've made arrangements. They've opened the door. They've opened the gate. They've laid things down. How do you overcome that?
Yeah, so one of the things that I try to separate my guys from, I guess the way that most other people do it is that we will get it in. Like as long as it will
Mhm.
physically fit, we will get it in. We're not going to do anything crazy. I've had some crazy requests. People say, "Well, can we pull some ropes through the second story window and pull it up through the window onto the patio?" It's like we're not doing that. But in terms of setting them up, first thing is understanding their options, right? So if you need a way out, and I'm doing air quotes, if you need a way out from a delivery, meaning this is not safe, like somebody's going to get hurt doing this, I'm either going to damage the product, I know I will, or I'm going to damage your property. Those are no-goes at all, right? So those are just honest conversations. And then the second piece of it is it's very, very tricky to your point of pulling that out, because you want to respect that it's the person that purchased the product. They're the one that spent $6,000 to get this stuff to the house, right? It is their home. Number one rule of home delivery: respect the home, right? So you want to respect that and not discredit it, but you also want to put in your level of professionalism and put them at ease where, hey, trust me that I'm doing the best thing for us here. So what I always like to do is when I go to the door for the approach, okay, show me where it's going. Like it's just a quick, show me where it's going. They walk me through. If I see him, because of my experience, that there's going to be a challenge, I always ask, is there another way in? Some people tell me, like you said, just come to the back and go to the back door. Okay, is there another way? Well, no, because if you come through the front door, then you're going to have to go through, take this door off and go to. Okay, perfect. Now I'm looking at the option. Again, if I'm not going to damage a product, the property, or someone, then we're going to give it an effort. If it comes to a situation where it is a no-go, then it's an outright, here are your options, right? It's not personal. Here's what we can do. Listen, I'm not going to be able to bring it around the back for these multiple reasons. I'm going to end up damaging it. Your option is this. I can leave it in the garage. They can call 3 guys, or you can take the doors off the front of your house, whatever, and we can go through the front, or you can refuse it, order something smaller. Those are your options. But just being clear about what the options are for people limits the imagination going wild and them trying to force you into something that that's not going to be comfortable for you and you're going to end up having to pay for.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm.
So, Gina, I'm going to flip this over to you with a rebuttal to that if you have one from the female perspective. And then I'll have a follow-up question for you if you don't have a rebuttal.
Oh, well, I mean, I think, and I completely understand what, and agree with Merrick is setting the expectation of, that's not going to work. That's why that we're going to go this way. But I have, because of who our business partner is, I have found that sometimes what we need to do is show them that it's not going to go in that way. And that way they understand, like, I know this is your home and you know it better than I do. But again, I'm the professional, but if you want me to go this way, I'll show you why I have my concerns, because I find it, and it doesn't matter if it's a female home or it's the man that's home. I think that at that point, you're showing the customer, I hear you. I'm going to show you why this isn't going to go work. And then I'm going to go over why I want to go the other way and how that's going to be a more successful pathway for us. Because a lot of times what happens is, and I don't know if you ever experience this, Merrick, but a lot of times what happens on our end is that we get a person that is like, no, I've had this house for 40 years and I've always brought everything through that front door, right? And maybe they don't understand that, hey, this sectional you bought, I can't take the backs off of it. And I'm going to try not to destroy your house. So just a lot of times that goes a little extra with the customer to show, hey, these are my concerns right here. And then they understand you're not trying to be difficult. You just want to make sure that we can get it in and not do any type of damage to the product that they've just spent their hard-earned money on, or to their house. Because if that happens, then we've created a situation that is not pleasant for the driver, our business partner, and the customer.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. Sorry, that's a great point. But also, just to tack on, there's a reason. There's a reason for it, right? There's a reason why the drivers, maybe don't want to do it, and there's a reason why the customer may not want it. And I've had it where, calm the energy, have the conversation, right? Where people have just kind of ponied up and said, well, I just washed my carpets upstairs, so I don't want you trampling up there. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm glad we talked. I've got booties or I've got runners, right? So, but it's the same way for the drivers, to your point, and we must attempt. So if a customer is not comfortable with the conversation, we're saying, hey, listen, this isn't just going to go. Listen, I'll dolly it back here and show you that it's not going to go. Or you come to the truck, I'm going to show you the measurement that the fridge says 36 and your door says 32, even with the doors off, right? So making sure that they see it, but also for the driver's side, just having that conversation of what is the real reason, right? Because let's be honest, 20 stops a day, 40 appliances, fatigue sets in, you start to get tired. That back walk around the house, doesn't look as enticing as going through the front. So if that's the real reason, then it's just an honest conversation. But it's back to what I was saying about setting those expectations of and letting them out, where the customer can say, I just washed my carpets. I just don't, that's my real concern. Oh, perfect. I got you now. Now we can operate that way. But all of this said, to be really effective at not just a customer service piece, but getting through the entire day for deliveries, all of these things are plate spinning, right? Like your options for, what the service level agreement is with the vendor or the retailer that you're working with, right? The customer expectations and then your capabilities, all while thinking, hey, they've given me 14 minutes for this stop, right? So that's where the balance comes into.
Merrick, you mentioned one of the other things you mentioned that I want to go back to, and I want both of your perspectives on this. Gina, I'm going to start with you just as a heads up, but you talk about the reset, and one of the things that I love about the Final Mile business is it's so different than an office environment or working out in a machine shop or being a mechanic, because a lot of times in those other professions, something can go wrong that can ruin your entire day, and it can just snowball that effect. What I love about Final Mile, and I learned this from a guy Gina knows, Rick Ford, is you get that reset. If something went wrong in that customer's home, you get to leave there at the end of the delivery, and before you ring that next doorbell, you get to flush all that bad out of you. So here's the question to both of you is, how do you do it, and how do you advise other people to just let go of what just happened and make that next customer's experience amazing?
Well, so for me, for a reset, if I've been on the phone with a customer and maybe it's just been a very difficult conversation, I take a minute and you know me, John, I have a room and I just go in there and I just breathe. And sometimes my hands get to going and I may just have to just do a little bit. But I need to do that because my next customer doesn't need to know that I just got off the phone with a difficult expectation customer. And if I bring that to my next conversation, I'm already starting it off poorly. And I've already set an expectation that I'm going to be difficult to deal with. And so when we have guys in the field and they call and they tell me about, hey, I just had this delivery, it didn't go well. The customer didn't really understand why they needed this shutoff valve. And they just said that we were being very difficult. I always tell them, hey, you're in the truck now, right? Shake it out. If you have to scream and yell or whatever, do that while you're in the truck, while you're driving. So when you come to the next house, it's all out of your system because that customer is going to be completely different. They don't know, and don't say things to a customer like, you're my 15th stop. I said, you've already set the expectation that you don't care. Like at this point, and you're going to get a bad survey. I'm probably going to get a call, and you just need to make sure you reset yourself and go into that situation like it's brand new. You're wiping that chalkboard clean. You're cleaning the slate. That person doesn't know what happened 2-3 stops back. And now you can give that customer a better experience, because coming into that and bringing all that baggage, you basically are telling the customer, this isn't going to be fun for me or you.
Yeah. Thank you. Merrick?
Yeah. For me, well, I mean, the lesson that I learned is twofold. First thing that, and you mentioned it, it snowballs and it will not let up. Like if you do not let go, things just get worse and worse and worse. So that's one. And the other one is that, there's forgiveness as well. So every single day, and I've done over 5,000 deliveries myself. Like I stopped counting at 5,000. You will have a stop that will not be the funnest time of the day. You will, guaranteed. But you also have a savior somewhere in there. And by savior, it's like, it's the easy ones. It's, the 5-piece appliance, the washer, the dryer, the fridge. You pull up and they say, oh, you know what? Leave it in the box, put it in the garage, and they've given you 90 minutes for the stop, right? So you make up the time. But also, no joking, like in my early days, one of the worst days I had was that it was a pile of 2 or 3 back to back. It was snowy, it was winter, like just everything was going wrong. My last delivery, I got to the customer's home at 12:01 a.m. Like, yeah, no joke. And like my customers were calling me, they're like, are you still gonna come? And it's 6 p.m. and I'm on stop 8, and I text everybody, I said, if you will take it, I will come. And luckily I was able to finish that route that day, but I'm like, I'm never doing this again. And it was because I carried over. Everyone I got to was dragging my heels. I'm like, I don't want to do this. That person really peeved me off, whatever the case is. So I learned from that. And what I took away and what I teach, and I said earlier, is the door to door. Like, think of it like that. When you open the door, you're on. The camera's on, action's on, right? Positive energy, use your skills, communicate, get through it. When you get back in the truck, whatever. Talk about how their house smelled, curse them out, complain about when you pinched your finger, like all that stuff. But when you reopen the door, camera's back on. So that's the mental frame I try to put them in. But and then also remind them that there's a savior during the day, and then there's something that's not going to be easy for you. But the biggest thing is, and the number one takeaway is, when you're in the literally cursing the entire way to the next stop, use that energy to think how you would not encounter that situation again. So what made that situation so bad? And a lot of times it's back to what we were saying earlier. We let the customer take control of how it's going to go, and now they're kind of mini guiding us, and we're like, we should have been out of here half an hour ago, So those are the things. Think about it door to door, reset, camera on, camera off, learn from what it is, and know that there's a saver somewhere. Because, you're on the road, you want to get off. So just think, that took a little extra, but there's something that's going to give me my time back. Just got to keep my head up and acknowledging that every customer deserves your skills. Everybody, like the next person that pays $6,000 isn't less valuable than the last person that peeved you off. So, give them what they paid for.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that, Merrick. And, it's, I always find this to be the trickiest part of, coaching people on how to just let it go. And, I think there are some nuggets of wisdom in everybody's approach, because everybody has a different approach. So when I'm doing a live stand-up, I'll actually ask the same question to people: how do you just let go? And it's usually the more senior drivers who have something that they want to add. And then, my coaching technique to it is really basic. I simply tell them, you have no idea what that person's going through. Yeah. You're one piece of their day. And Gina, to your point about the 15 deliveries, what I tell these guys is, you might have 12 couches on your truck today, but you're delivering that one couch to that one customer. And then I ask them, I said, just step back and think about your house and your family and the memories that you make sitting on the couch with your kids watching movies. You're about to change this family's path because you're delivering a new piece of furniture that they're going to make new memories around. And you have no idea what they're going through, what they're dealing with, how long it took them to save up to that. Maybe they had to finance it. Maybe they're pissed off because they got a 20% interest rate on a $500 couch. You don't know that. And so it doesn't matter what they throw at you. Your job is to deliver an excellent experience for them because you're now a part of this family's story. So in most cases that works, but I will tell you where it doesn't work. When it's 112 degrees outside and it is their 15th stop and the Nebraska sun is beating down on them. And Merrick, I don't know if you've experienced a Nebraska or a Kansas summertime. They're brutal. It's like stepping directly into one of those heaters you plug in the garage, and it blasts the heat at you.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Gina, go ahead.
Just to talk about that, I'm sure this happened when you were at Nebraska Furniture Mart, but we get customers that complain about us sweating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very interesting conversation to have with a customer because like these guys are like, ma'am, I can't help that I'm sweating. Like it's 110 degrees out here. And, I'm trying not to sweat on your new furniture. I promise you, and so what we've been doing is like giving the guys extra shirts on those days to let them know, like, look, I get it. It's 112 and you have gone up how many sets and flights of stairs, right? So Josh Cronick, who John, he just tells the guys, bring extra shirts. That way, once you have sweat through another shirt, you can put another one on so that next customer doesn't know that you've been sweating all day and try to prevent that. I mean, you want to set the expectation, but to a customer, sometimes they just don't have that understanding of what these guys are actually doing. Like they're only focused on their delivery as they should be, but they also have to understand you want to make sure that they understand that, I get it. I was supposed to be here an hour ago. I'm going to take care of you. Give me 1 second. I've got to refresh myself and we'll get going here. But I think that's one of the hardest customer interactions to deal with when a customer starts complaining, hey, you're sweating on my furniture. And you're like, how do you prevent that? Like, how do you, there's not a way to do it. So, I mean, we just started telling the guys, just bring extra shirts and do the best that you can and try to make sure when you're done, you wipe your arms and, your forehead off and move forward. Cause brutal. Nebraska summers, not the best. I used to work for the delivery and operations manager for a dry cleaning and laundry. And when it was 110, it was 130 inside. You want to talk about uncomfortable, but we got it done. I mean, we didn't have a choice, right? I mean, you just do it and you make sure that the customer doesn't know that you've been back there all day sweating.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now, little fun fact about me, I'm a sweater. I sweat horribly. It doesn't even have to be hot for me to sweat. And there are pictures of me that people have taken because a heart forms on my shirt. So anyway, really appreciate that. Merrick, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, the piece of the conversation about the sweating on the sofa?
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's back to what we were saying about like understanding your options, right? And just the communication piece, setting the expectations, right? It's tough, but I mean, there's very few customers that I've run into that aren't human, that just have unrealistic expectation where they're like, well, I don't want to see a single drip of sweat. You know, most people are like, wow, it's really chilly. Like, you know, I know you got a lot of jackets on, or it's really hot. Like, you know, do you want water? I see you're sweating, you know, that kind of thing. And as long as the guys that are delivering are skilled enough to be able to identify those things that may be little hitches, you know, you can address them, right? If need be. And again, and I just say that you have to be in the moment where you're really observant of everything that's going on with the customer. Like, you'll see if they're standing there looking at you, watching the sweat waiting to drip off, you know, like you'll see it. And then you can have a conversation or step back, wipe it, whatever. So it's just being attentive. But we can't change, you know, human nature, right?
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me today, and I appreciate the time you've given me. Hope that this is something you enjoyed, and we'll see you again here soon. And to the viewer, here's what I would advise is if you like what you see, like, share, comment, let us know. If there's topics out there that you're curious about, things that you're frustrated with, go ahead and drop it in the comment section of this video, and we'll add it into the agenda. Merrick, Gina, do you have any parting thoughts before we go?
I'll let Merrick, you can go first.
No, Gina, great to meet you. Well, like actually meet you on video and chat. Great conversation. Thanks, John. Let's do it again.
Awesome.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm glad that I got to meet you, Merrick, and I'm hoping maybe we can connect a little bit on LinkedIn, because I'd like to pick your brain on some issues that we run into. And thanks so much, John, for asking me to do this. This was a great opportunity.
Yeah, well, Gina, I'll kind of give you credit for prompting the issue. Gina had sent me a message a while back asking if I had ever had anybody from Ford Storage on my podcast. And I said, no, but actually I've got an idea. So thank you, Gina, for spurring that along.
I mean, honestly, I thought it was going to be Product, but I appreciate the invite.
He didn't respond. So
Okay.
we'll throw that in there for him. Hopefully he watches it and feels some guilt. So, all right. Thank you for watching or listening to the Real Final Mile podcast, dedicated to the big and bulky industry. This podcast is brought to you by GetDoolin.com training. Log in, check out the different classes that we offer, dedicated to the final mile industry of big and bulky home delivery of consumer goods.